Guys, Sterling and Cejudo go face-to-face this Saturday at UFC 288. So make sure to take advantage of an exciting offer from my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet $5 on any pre-fight money line and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. You can use your $150 in bonus bets on fight parlays, where you can combine multiple bets on the same fight into a parlay for a shot at even more action. If mobile sports betting is not yet available in your state, you can still get in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy, where they offer cash prize contests for nearly every sport. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. New customers, just click on the link below to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Remember, use promo code Sonnen and bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's promo code Sonnen only at DraftKings Sportsbook. My official prediction for Cejudo versus Sterling, I'm taking Cejudo. And do you want to know why? Because I'm a nut hugger for a wrestler. I have no other answer. Aljo's a wrestler too. I mean, I've got to tell you. Okay, so they're both wrestlers, and then one of them's Olympic champion, so you've got to go with him. But truly, I think that's it. That must be a weakness within me, right? But it's a consistency. Well, I've been making that mistake since 1993. Used to always be right till about 2001. All of a sudden, who was the better wrestler just didn't matter anymore. Now, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this for me to point out my own hypocrisies with you. Somebody does not get better at something by not doing it. Henry sitting out since 246 until now. If that was anybody else, I would use that against him and give the edge to Sterling. History says Sterling, being younger and more active, wins. Now we've got common opponent. People love to say MMA math doesn't work. MMA math works all the time. It's not an absolute science. It is not perfect. It's damn close. You got to go out of your way to find an MMA math or equation that doesn't compute. And unless you're talking about something very fishy or very fugazi, once in a lifetime big shot, something along these lines that happen, it's damn near foolproof. Let's just use TJ Dillashaw. They both fought, but I think we can agree that Aljo's performance was very different, right? You couldn't give Henry any corrections. He was in and out of there in like 20 seconds. But we can also say that we've never seen anybody handle TJ, with or without the shoulder. We don't have to go and revise that. I'm just sharing with you. As far as a common opponent and somebody that you should be scared of, or something that you're going to break down, that you're going to look at that your opponent dealt with it, I think that it's a reasonable and meaningful person, and I believe that Aljo is going to impress you more. Even though he was in there much longer, I think he's going to impress you more with what he was able to do. Then you've got two guys that both want to leave the weight class. Neither are happy with their being paid. Aljo, it turns out by Jon Anik. Jon Anik broke this today. I didn't know it until Jon said it, but he said that this is Aljo's first time in a main event. All these times that he's been featured, but he's been on cards that have other main events, other title fights, and they have got the headlining spot. This is Aljo's first time. He will be the absolute last athlete to leave the bath and walk to the octagon. Does that matter? It does on many levels. When you're the champion of the world, probably not. You're probably far past some of those nerves and anxieties getting to you. Let me tell you a misconception that I have. I'm aware that it's a misconception, but let me tell you where it comes from. I have a belief that Aljo fades later in fights. Now, I've never actually seen that. And do you want to know why that's imprinted in my head? Because Aljo was extremely cautious in fight number 2 with Peter Yan, and he gave away rounds 4 and 5. He did that by strategy. It was an extremely risky strategy. He did that by strategy. It did not actually mean that his energy was depleted or decreasing. But because it happened somewhere in the back of my head subliminally, I think of him as a guy who has a hard time holding up. I admit that hasn't actually been what I've seen. Now, when you talk about Henry, it's not what you might think. Henry Cejudo, being the Olympic champion, does not just go out and take guys down. This is not a ground and pound specialist, right? This is not Khabib. That's going to cut you off, get his hands on you, and you're in big trouble once that happens. It's not like that with Henry. Matter of fact, Henry's had a number of fights where he fails to get the takedown. He goes for it, he sets it up, he doesn't get it. Now, just remind you that he then has to turn to his hands. You know, he knocked Dillashaw out when he got the stoppage against Dominic Cruz. It's not because he was out there wrestling him into Keith Peterson stepping and breaking up. I mean, Henry's not totally what you would expect and think Henry to be. I also would presume that he's better now than he was then because he started coaching. This is a concept that was taught to me by Chuck Kearney. 1997, but Chuck Kearney told me, hey, start working some summer camps. Start working with some guys. Start asking a coach around town if you can tag in and help out a day. He said, you'll become immensely better at the sport when you have to teach the sport. When you're just out there and it's free and wild and you get used to it, it's totally different when you have to break it down. Here's what I do. Here's where I go. Here's where I step. Here's where I penetrate. It's very different. I just share with you that Henry's been doing that. And since Henry started doing that, it's been a who's who, whether it was Wei Lee, whether it was Formega, whether it was Jon Jones. The athletes that are coming through, don't forget, that's a two-way street. That isn't just Henry working on distance and range with these athletes. He's also learning from them. So it's very precarious spot. Both guys have other goals. Neither guy appears, the proverbial term, to sweating the other guy. They're already moving on. They're not only moving on from each other and from this contest, they're moving on from the entire division. Both guys are talking about moving up to 145 pounds. Does that matter? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? You go ahead and determine if it's good or bad. I'm just sharing for you, it's a wash. Whatever conclusion you come to, yeah, that's really helpful. Oh, no, that's bad news. They're both doing it, so it's a wash. It's a really weird spot. And one thing about Sterling, he turned out to be a lot better than we knew he was. I don't think that we knew that he was a world champion. I don't think that we knew he was the best 35-pounder doing it today. And it's a massive question. What if he got to the championship had Henry stayed there? It's a big deal when somebody walks away from the belt and or the title. A lot of times that question will just loom and people will use it against you just purely to irritate you. But this is one of those very few situations where we're going to test the theory. Would Aljo have been champion had Henry not left? That's what this is about, man. This is a close fight. This is a really hard one. You ask me to make a prediction for you, I'm putting the curse on Cejudo.